everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Good Citizen Show. My name is Bekeme, and the show is brought to you by CSR in Action, and it's funded by ACT Foundation, aka ACT Foundation, which is a grant-making organization established in 2016 to support local, national, and regional nonprofits in the areas of health, environment, entrepreneurship, and leadership. And this is what we do, leadership. We're encouraging citizens to be better at being good citizens and basically fulfilling our responsibilities and duties as citizens of Nigeria. I'm very glad to be back. I hope you all missed me. I missed you all. But it was a very much needed breakaway, and I tried to have great fun. So this week, something has been trending a whole lot. I think it was yesterday, I saw a video going around of a woman absolutely starkers, and she was literally all bones. It was a skeleton with skin stretched over it, and she just held her hair and she was just looking. I think what was baffling to me was the ability of the woman to even stand by herself. I was shocked, and what was even more shocking was that the people around her had no empathy whatsoever. People were literally pulling her. People were videoing her. There was a big gash on her side, and she just stood there like she couldn't hear anything. And I remember that my nanny even came back and said, "Oh, there was one woman. She was on the road. It's like all these runs boys have used her. They've used her. They said that they used her and dumped her and gave her 100,000, and these area boys have taken the 100,000 naira from her." I was like, how is that possible? And then, it was going around on WhatsApp, and I looked it up and I found out that this young woman, I believe her name is Kira Hewatch, I think she's an actress, young woman with her red hair, had actually stopped and picked this woman up. She knew her from nowhere. It turns out her name is Ene, and she suffers from HIV, probably stage 4, and so I don't know how she got there. She probably was still not able to speak well, but I was very touched to see that such a young woman had such presence of mind to have done something that adults who were gathered around didn't think to do. They were there accusing her of all sorts of things. Oh, she's a witch. Oh, she's a runs babe. And I thought to myself, yeah, if she was a runs babe, if you thought that truly someone used her and dumped her, wouldn't your first thought be to help her? But then, I think this is obviously the problem of stigma around people. The WHO reports that stigma, discrimination, and neglect prevent care and treatment from reaching victims throughout the world, especially when it's mental health or, say, HIV victims or even sexual assault victims. And while people continue to struggle with the symptoms and effects of mental health, the growing societal stigma and stereotype associated with it is becoming even more worrisome. So today we're going to talk about the psychological effects of societal stigmatization, obviously. And social stigma is, by definition, a disapproval of or discrimination against a person based on certain social characteristics that differentiate them from others. It's a major problem, and it has become so structural. And our discussion today is looking at how we can reduce the impact of stigmatization and possibly remove the labels created by it. And we have a very special guest in the house, my very own Pastor Godman Akinlabi. Welcome to the show, Pastor Godman.
Thank you, Bekeme, for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yes, so by way of proper introduction, Pastor Godman is the lead pastor of the Elevation Church, Lagos, where he was giving a God-given mandate to make greatness common. And I can tell you that by way of testimony, this show is as a result of listening to his preaching on the podium. And I thought, what little way can we contribute towards making greatness common? And so here we are today having this discussion. He served as an associate pastor in Daystar Christian Center for over a decade. And he's a seasoned and sought-after teacher, relationship coach, and public speaker whose ministry has blessed many all over the world, including through this radio show. Welcome again, Pastor Godman.
Thank you.
So you heard the introduction. I mean, why do you think people behave in this manner? Why do you think people stigmatize socially?
Well, I think, firstly, we need to understand that as a people, we have cultural traits that may not really support development or support people with social problems, whether it's health,
yes,
or otherwise. I mean, whether it's poverty, whatever kind of social problem that people have. There's a culture that supports such people, which is premised on hope,
right?
Which is premised on everybody can make progress, which is premised on problems can be solved. But when you have a fatalistic culture, where we tend to, believe that when things happen, it maybe God brought it,
yes,
or something, and people just, they just throw away hope and just believe that, okay, if this person is going through this, then this person is a burden on all of us, or burden on society. The person cannot do anything with his or her life again.
Right.
And the people are easily written off.
Yes.
And people run away from people depending on what kind of issues that they're dealing with.
Right.
The moment people are stigmatized, there are all kinds of, issues around them. Yeah.
Right. So as a result, people then behave. I mean, because this reminds me of the Good Samaritan, where all sorts of people pass. They see someone in serious need and then they pass. Like, I'm struggling to think why people would behave, in that manner. But why? What do you think are the harmful effects of such behavior? And then before you answer that, I remember that we were talking about this prior to the show, and you pointed out that Richard Branson, as rich as he is, suffers from dyslexia. And in Nigeria in those days, probably till now in certain areas, it's Olodo now.
Yeah.
It's Olodo, knock on the head and all of that. But he's done so well for himself, and he's using that opportunity to speak out and talk about some of the challenges and the blessings.
Yeah.
Okay, because people who say suffer from mental health or any such are human beings. They're just a little bit different.
Yeah.
But you obviously have capacity in some other way. Now, how do you think that? What do you think are the effects of such gagging in our society?
Yeah, I think the generalization is the first thing I want to speak to, because whether it's HIV, mental health, sexual violence victim, or whatever, whether it's rape, whatever you call it, when people meet somebody who is going through a particular situation, a lot of the time we're quick to generalize. So you see someone living with HIV and you think it's because they've lived in a very wayward manner. That's why.
Yes.
Yeah. And you're not thinking of what about if someone...
Blood transfusion.
Yeah. Just
because I know someone who contracted it through that.
Yeah. So it's the same thing. Mental health, if you see a guy on the road who is talking gibberish, the guy has been smoking weed or on drugs. And that's not necessarily the truth.
Yes.
This guy may just be, someone who just had emotional issues, maybe born out of work pressure, born out of relationship issues, or born out of, parental issues. And that leads to some kind of mental illness. But we tend to want to just say, look, when they have problems, it's because of something that they did to themselves personally. So it leads to...
Even if they did, though, PG, even if they did.
Yeah, but it's still our culture that I'm speaking to, because when we feel that, this guy did something to himself that is not right, so he's suffering the consequences of that. I mean, look at the story of the Good Samaritan you're talking about. What was written there was that it was a chance occurrence. Armed robbers, by chance, attacked him. Then he became the victim. But people passed by, or praised, or this or that, and they didn't do anything until the Good Samaritan came, who looked beyond the situation on ground.
Absolutely.
Who looked beyond who caused it, or why did this happen.
Absolutely.
There's a problem.
Yes.
And the problem needs a solution.
Right.
Yeah. And somebody has to do something about it.
Yes.
And maybe I'm the one.
Yes.
And decided to do something about it.
Yes.
How cool will it be if we have a society of people who focus more on solutions?
Absolutely.
and says, look, I meet a girl on the road, she's naked, she needs help. I mean, thumbs up to that lady, the
Thumbs
actress.
up, like God bless her wherever
that,
she is. It's
but you see hundreds of people
inspirational.
gathering there, just looking at the lady.
Yes.
And they turned her to
Yes,
a
and
show.
they tried to stop her. She says about 700 people, wherever they came out from, they did try to stop her. Before we go on, let me remind you, tell you the numbers to call. The number is 0700 923 923 93. Again, is 0700 923 923 93. You can call us to make your contributions. You can also send us a WhatsApp message on 0906 263 4111. Again, it's 0906 263 4111. We're talking about these harmful effects of social stigmatization in our society. PG, what do you think people can do to drastically reduce the impact of social stigma, to stop behaving in that manner, literally, like stop gawking at a person that you see on the road? Like, why are you gawking? There was one that I saw, one of such, she was in a plant, a brewery, and they said she was huddled, much like this same lady, all worn out looking, and the men were like, the Bible says kill the witch, and they were literally saying, don't help her, don't do anything. How did she land there? She must have flown in on a banana stalk, and all of those things. It's funny, isn't it? And don't do anything. How do we stop people from thinking like, to start thinking differently, that they're dealing with a fellow human being and that they need to help regardless of their own filter, as you said the other day?
Yeah, so let's start from prevailing mindsets, which is what I said earlier, the stereotypes of, if you meet an old woman who is losing her mind and saying things that people choose to believe, like somebody just says, oh, I killed this person, I killed that person.
Yeah.
People will not even ask, is it true?
No evidence.
Sometimes
nothing.
the name that they're mentioning that people are still alive. That's how you know that this person is losing it. But because she's old, and the stereotype is that an old woman is a witch, can be a witch.
Could be a witch.
Could be a witch, and they may have done some funny things earlier in life, and people just believe, and because we spiritualize everything.
Yeah, my husband says it's vitamin A deficiency then that used to make people confess in boarding schools of being witches.
Yeah. And, and some people just believe that what they're saying is true, and before you know it, they're bringing in tires, they want to burn them down, They want to do something to them, they want to harm them. So that stereotype in our thinking, that those mindsets, we need to deal with them, to say, look, when people have problems, we need to help them. We don't have to say, look, it's a consequence of what they've done before. Now, also, we need to change our mind about thinking that people are dangerous. Yeah. Let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. So someone living with HIV, shaking hands with you. I mean, these are things that people know, but they're still afraid still.
Yeah.
The HIV community, they have done
that you
of
can't
work.
contract it by shaking hands, but then you're still...
Or by sitting close to the person at work,
Right.
or things like that.
Right.
But if you just get to know that, just getting to know that somebody around you is living with HIV, you just become paranoid just because of that. And that should not be the case. Those issues are not sometimes as dangerous as we think.
You're very right. You're very right, PG. And I have several anecdotes about that, which I will tell you about upon our return back to the show. We'll take a short break, and then we'll come back and continue this discussion.
Are you a non-profit or social enterprise making a difference? ACT Foundation is providing funding and support to impact-based organizations across Africa. Over the last 3 years, we have supported 49 organizations who have gone on to impact over 200,000 lives, and we want to support even more amazing work. To apply for the 2020 grant cycle, submit the online application at actrustfoundation.org. You'll need to 1. Be a registered African non-profit organization, community-based organization, or social enterprise. 2. Have been in operation for a minimum of 2 years. 3. projects or initiatives in health, entrepreneurship, environment, or leadership. Together, we can build sustainable societies and create effective social impact solutions.
Hi, we're back on the show. You've been listening to us talk about the unhealthy repercussions of social stigmatization, and Pastor Godman here, aka PG, was talking about about how people react wrongly to these things. And we have a call. Hello. Hi, thanks for calling the Good Citizen Radio Show. What's your name, please?
My name is Chukwemeka.
Hello, Chukwemeka. You're what?
I'm at Akpabo.
Akpabo. Okay. Thank you for calling. So what's your contribution?
This stigmatization is, from this end, I feel it's a Nigerian syndrome. It is because when you look at what might happen when you try to render help, you better stay clear and not try to bring yourself to the center.
How do you mean?
In other countries, let me take for an instance, there is a robbery incident and a car was stolen.
Mm-hmm.
If the car is flagged and someone sees the car, you can call in and say, I saw this car, it's a so position, and the police will come and do their job. But if you do that in this country, you are number one suspect.
I see.
So you just tend to turn your eye the other way and just go out. Or maybe you see a kidnapper that has been notorious and has been flagged by the relevant authorities, and you say that criminal went into so and so apartment. The police will just come there, and if you're nearby, they take you and even take every person in that apartment as suspect without doing any investigation. So it is a Nigerian syndrome, and that doesn't change. It will keep on happening. People will prefer to look from a distance than try to go to render a help.
Okay,
You see
Chukwemeka.
someone that has an accident or something on the way, and you take that person to the hospital. You will be the one that they'll be questioning.
I think that has changed, though. That is
I do
changing.
not
There's a law that has been passed, a Good Samaritan law. I know that it was being pushed at some point.
But
And-
maybe they have pushed it on paper, but it's not practical. They will question you like.
Okay, bros, let me ask you this question. Have you tried it recently?
But I haven't been in such a position recently. But
Uh-huh.
to me, to
Try
be
it.
honest, I do not think that if I see I could go close to render help, I might just call from a far place. To be honest.
Well, I think the most important thing, Uncle Chooks, the most important thing is we have to start from somewhere.
Absolutely.
I don't mind you calling from a distance. But
Yes.
let's do something.
Yes.
Then gradually,
Yes.
we will move everybody. Don't forget, we're talking about good citizenship. So we'll move everybody in the right direction. So I'm okay with you standing in somewhere and
Absolutely.
calling, but let's do something.
Absolutely. Reminds me of the Maury incident. The person who gave the father a tip, the missing girl, the person who gave the father a tip called and didn't show because he was worried that he might be arrested too. Hello? Hello? I think we missed that call. Hello?
Hello, good evening, Bekeme. Welcome back.
Good evening, indeed. Thank you for calling. How's everything?
Very fine, thank you. Pastor
Great.
Godwin, good evening.
Good
Godman,
evening.
Pastor Godman.
Good
Yes,
evening.
you're welcome to Good Citizens Radio Show.
Thank you.
I'm welcoming you, yes.
That's our key stakeholder.
Now, coming to the topic of today, stigmatization.
Yeah.
One of the reasons why there is stigmatization is because of ignorance.
Mm-hmm.
Ignorance of the people. For example, some people, when they hear that somebody has HIV, it has not even gotten to AIDS. They run away from the person. They just see that you get close to the person, it automatically transfers to that other person.
But they know better, as PG has said. They know better than that. I mean, there has been a lot of sensitization. It's just they refuse to listen, isn't it?
there is a lot of sensitization, but is it everybody that listens? Is it everybody that believes what is said? That some people still have the myth around it. You understand? People still have the myth. They can't even shake the person from a distance. They have not seen that person that the person has been sentenced to death. Just the way they say, they don't want to die with the person. You understand? So they stay away, which is not right. Until there is nothing, maybe break it down to the languages that the people understand, their own language. Bring it down to their own language that they will understand. The market women or the people in the villages, the way they will understand it, that is not like that. Because if we speak the Queen's English to them, all of that, it's just like it enters one ear and goes out through the other ear.
Okay.
You understand?
I hear you.
We need to bring it out. Yes. And also, I agree with the other caller who said that when you want to help, the person might end up getting into trouble because of Nigerian system. But I thank God that you are saying it is changing.
It is changing. I mean, it has changed. The Kira lady, nobody has held her down. She took the lady in. Nobody's saying you injected her, you infected her, or whatever not, or you tried to use her for blood money or any such thing. So I think that the narrative is changing. And from our actions, already, it will change further.
And also, in the we need to also focus on modeling. You know, you said, okay, not speaking Queen's English to, village people. All of us have to pick it up. But they respect people who are learned.
Yes.
And when people are learned, model the right things to them. When they see the way we behave around people who are helpless, or the way we behave around people who should have been stigmatized, then they take a cue from us and they see that nothing happened to us when we relate with people living with HIV well. Nothing happened to, us if we relate with people dealing with mental health as if they are okay. So... Yeah.
So thank you, PG. Thank you for calling in, Didi. So, I mean, this just... Hello?
Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you for calling the Good Citizen Radio Show. What's your name?
Thank you. My name is Kingsley.
Hi, Sixtus. Thanks for calling again. How's your week been?
Fine. Pastor, welcome home.
Thank you, my brother.
Thank you. Yeah. The problem we have is that Nigerians are very, very loving people. Considering the kind of problem or other countries, the way they behave. It's only in Nigeria that somebody will see you stranded, even with your 20 naira, will give you 10 naira for it. I'm telling you the truth.
Oh, really?
This hard economy, they will give you food, they will give you pure water, they buy gala for you. Do you understand?
That's great to hear.
Because of the problem that the society has put us in, especially the forces, the police in particular. You don't understand? Okay.
Police can be held for social stigmatization too now. I know they do that. They have their own for hand, as we would say, but social stigmatization. Hello? So we lost that call. I mean, so yes, the Nigerian police gets the flag for a lot of things, and you can't blame our callers.
Yeah.
But I just wonder at this one, in this case.
I think this guy was talking about what the first caller was saying about
like
just
taking someone in
societal
and
behavior.
Right.
The real core issue is lack of trust.
Right.
We struggle to trust ourselves. So police, they don't trust citizens. Citizens don't trust police.
Yes.
We don't trust our politicians.
Nope.
We don't trust our leaders, whether corporate, religious, or whatever. It's just a lot of distrust in our society.
Yes.
And that's what is fueling some of the bad behaviors like stigmatization.
Yes, I mean, as they were talking, a lot of things came to mind, and you talked about modeling, and I thought, it's basically like living by example.
Yeah.
Through my youth, I cannot imagine the number of people who lived with us, and they weren't related to us. Even people who had been clinically diagnosed with mental health issues, who were exhibiting mental health issues. I remember one of the ladies, somebody had said she actually escaped a mental home in the East before she came to my house, and she lived with us. I remember that one of the ladies who lived on my street went crazy, but she used to come to my house still and seek support from my mom, and she always attended to her. Or, the time when we had a washerman who had tuberculosis, and he continued working with us. The only thing at the time we did was we had a separate set of utensils just so that other people didn't get infected. But then when you have, and then there was a time actually that somebody else had been infected with HIV, and we didn't even know. She didn't tell us because she knew that people would react in a funny manner. So she kept it quiet until the person had moved away, and then we found out that this was I mean, everybody thought she was crazy, exposing her children. In fact, when we did find out, it wasn't she who told us, it was a different person who told us, careful, look after yourself in case they come again, and all of that. So I think that helps in my thinking, I would like to think, to realize that, yes, people may have challenges, but it doesn't make them any different from you.
You're very right, Bekeme. When we think about people from the fact that life happens to us, things will happen with people, whether, like we said, mental health, or that kind of health issues, HIV and all that, things happen.
Yes.
The most important thing is, how can we help this person to get out of this situation? Because if everybody keeps running away, we can't have people deploy their potentials maximally.
Absolutely.
And, impact our world, impact our nation, build our GDP to the next level.
Yes.
If everybody that has one small issue is written off,
yes,
and they can no longer contribute to the GDP of the nation, and we'll just be counting numbers for nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So PG, now let's go back to the victims of social stigmatization. What tips do you have for them? What do you think they can do differently to be able to survive this current harsh reality that they face?
The first thing I would love to say to anybody going through stigmatization is to look at, himself or herself from a different point of view.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot please people. You need information about what you are going through. Live your life based on the information at your disposal, not how people behave to you.
Right.
So if you're living with HIV and the doctors say if you take your antiretroviral drugs well, you can live the rest of your life well. Yeah, we have big people in developed countries who have been living with, Magic Johnson has been living with HIV for how many? Almost
Decades.
30 years.
Yes.
And he's still living well.
Yes.
He's not about to die.
No.
Yeah. So if you get such a
No,
report,
about to kill any other person.
yeah, no, I say infected somebody. So if you get that kind of report, think about people who have gone through this and who have refused to be defined by what they're going through.
Absolutely.
Or that by who they are. So the big question is, are you going to be defined by a mental health issue that you can overcome, if it's well treated, and if you apply yourself to the things that you're supposed to do? Or are you going to be defined by HIV that you didn't do anything to get? But even if you did something, you're a changed person right now. Yeah, and you're living with this thing, the treatment for you, and you can live with it. You can,
excel, reach your full potential.
Reach your full potential. Even believe that the situation can change.
Absolutely.
So rather than just listening to people, basing your life on how people behave, to you. In fact, my admonition for such a person is expect it, so that you are not shocked when people behave like that towards you. Absolutely. Expect it. Sometimes expecting rejection and some unwholesome behavior towards you helps you to deal with it better.
Absolutely.
When it does happen.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Pastor Godman. For what I heard you say in summary, basically you say problems exist to be solved.
Yep.
And I think that anybody who has to encounter this, you need to learn more about the problem. If you want to help somebody who is in a situation, learn more about the problem. People are different and should be accommodated. People can reach their full potential regardless of what their mental state may be. And finally, you said refuse to be defined by whatever challenges you have. Thank you all for listening. I told you all you would have a great time. Thank you for everyone who had promised to listen because Pastor Godman was coming on the show. Thank you to our callers, Chukwemeka, Sixtus, and Ndidi. You've won yourselves nice Yomi Domino pizzas. Remember, the Good Citizen Radio Show happens every Friday at 8 p.m. on Inspiration FM, IFM 92.3 and 92.3, yeah. And then call us or send us messages on 0906-263-4111 and on social media at Good Citizen I'm your host, Bekeme, and it's been great talking to you. Thank you to ACT Foundation for sponsoring the show and to the great team at CSR in Action. Have yourselves a great evening. Bye-bye.